So here's where we're at. We left off on the Torino the last time with it running but not idling. Now it would run, if you remember, on fast idle with the choke closed, but as soon as you wrap the throttle and open the choke, it would die. You know, it's a good start. You know, the valve train had quietened down, wasn't making any noise at all, almost stopped smoking. We were able to get it warmed up a little bit just by running it with the choke on. But we wanted to idle. We wanted to idle normally through the idle circuit of the carburetor. Now, if you remember, what we did is we took this mixing cup here and had gas in it. And what we did was we put a whole bottle of Berryman B12 in here with the gas. And then while we were running the car on the choke, the fuel pump line was in here and it was pulling all that into the carburetor. So what we do know is that the float bowl is full of gas with Berryman B12, and that was 2-cycle gas, you know, because we wanted some lubrication up there. So I had to go to work for a couple of days, so we let that soak. And what I'm hoping is that that Berryman in there will loosen up some of that gunk, those deposits, whatever they are, in the small passages inside the carburetor, so that it'll get some fuel through the idle circuit and actually idle on its own. Now, there were a couple of guys that commented. I put out a short, about a 15-second short. And what it showed me was I was up under the carburetor, and I was leaned over the fender, and I had that open top container with gas in it. I was bottle feeding the carburetor. And this one guy, I believe his name was Troy Rice, he says, "Quit doing that. That's going to backfire through the carburetor and going to burn your face off." I don't know if he said burn your face off, but that's what he meant. And then some other guy chimed in. I think his name was Hunter. And he said, "Yeah, he's right over the carburetors." So they were right. Now, here's the thing. I got excited that this thing was running. I mean, 25 or 26 years, whatever. It was running again, and it was sounding pretty good. So I wanted to try to keep it running, to try to keep that fuel going through there, and hopefully it would start idling. So I just kept bottle feeding it with that open top container, and they are correct. If it had backfired through the carburetor, it would have blown that container up, and it could have blown me up too, you know. So not the smartest thing to do. So I appreciate you guys for actually calling me out on that and bringing me back to my senses. I did get a little bit careless there. That's what guys like us do. You know, sometimes we get excited. And when we get excited, we do dumb stuff. And we win dumb prizes sometimes, you know. I actually had a backfire through a carburetor one time back in my younger days. I was probably about 17 and had the mullet. I mean, all the way ginger mullet. You know, business in the front, party in the back, mustache. I was like 100% 80s kid, okay? And I was up under the hood of my Mach 1. I leaned over the fender, and I wasn't bottle feeding it. It was running on its own, but I was trying to set the timing. And I had the timing a little bit fast. And I was rapping on the throttle, you know, 750 Holly, just cracking it. And it spit back through the carburetor, and yeah, burned my mullet. You know, I had a ring of singed hair right around here. and my mustache, my eyebrows, my eyelashes, all of it was singed, you know. Didn't burn my face off, didn't hurt me, but, you know, got a little hot there for a second. So it can happen, you know, it can, and it does happen. But, you know, I wasn't injured that time, and I didn't get injured this time. It didn't happen this time. You know, luckily, it didn't. But it could have, so I don't want you doing that. Don't be doing that, okay? Now, you'll be happy to know that since that video, since Troy and Hunter kind of jumped on me, scolded me about that, now I have one of these. Guys, this is all because of you, right? So this is what I should have been using in the first place. going forward, that's what I'm going to be using. So, good on you. Well, here's the thing. So we're going to try to get this thing going with the Berryman B12 in there and see what happens. If it don't work, then we're going to have to get out the heavy artillery. And by heavy artillery, I don't mean the heavy artillery. I just mean the straight heavy. Not the heavy, but the heavy. And by what I mean by heavy is we're still going to take the container of gas. We're just going to have the fuel line in it like we did before when we ran it with the choke on. And we're going to have this gas in it. It's not 2-cycle, don't need it. It's just 90 octane rec gas, no alcohol in it. So we're going to take that, and then we're going to dump a little bit of this in there with it. This stuff here. Now, I know what you think I'm going to say next, but I'm not going to say it. You know, I want to say it. It's something I'd normally say, but I'm not going to say it. We're just going to put it in there. But not only that. See, we're also going to put some of this in there. Automatic transmission fluid. Now, a lot of y'all don't know this. Oh, maybe all y'all do know it, but a lot of people don't know it. This is high detergent. Comes that way. It is a very good cleaner for fuel systems. Heck, I'll dump 2 or 3 quarts of that in my fuel tank, and it don't hurt a thing. Now, I'm not suggesting that you do that, because I would hate for you to do something that would damage your vehicle and you'd be mad at me. But all I can tell you is I've been doing it for years, and I've never had any problems with it. And I think if you asked around, did a little bit of research, maybe Googled it, you'd probably see that a lot of other people do it too. I mean, like when my Power Stroke diesel trucks, the 7.3s, they got that fuel canister right up on the top. And when I would change a fuel filter, I would refill that. You're supposed to refill that with diesel fuel. You put the filter element in there, refill it with diesel fuel so that the injectors don't run dry, and put the cap back on it. Well, I would fill it completely up with transmission fluid. And it would just run on the transmission fluid. I mean, diesel engines will run on just about anything that's oil-based. Vegetable oil, transmission fluid, used motor oil. I know a guy that fills his whole gas tank, his whole fuel tank up with used motor oil. He goes through a lot of fuel filters, but he runs his truck on it because he has a service station and he's got tanks full of this stuff. So that's what he runs his truck on. No problems at all. Now, that's what I've been doing for a long time. So we're going to use it in here. It'll clean your fuel injectors, clean your carburetor, you know, fuel lines, the top end, valve train, all that. It's really good for your engine to put it through the fuel system. So that's what I'm going to do here. Now that's the heavy artillery. That's not the heavy. The heavy is this. The old Carbutretor Kito. That's last resort for this stage in the revival process of this old Torino. It's going to get this eventually. I'm going to rebuild the carburetor, put this in there. It's going to happen, but maybe, hopefully not today. Because all I want to do today is I want to get this thing running and idling on its own so that I can troubleshoot the cooling system and the transmission, the brakes, and all that stuff. If you notice, the transmission, when I pulled the dipstick out the last time, the fluid on that was yellow, and it ain't supposed to be. I've never seen yellow transmission fluid. I don't. Maybe it's out there, but I was expecting to see red or pink transmission fluid, and it was not. And it has transmission fluid has a distinct smell to it. I ain't gonna say it smells good, but compared to burnt transmission fluid, it smells good. This wasn't even. It was worse than burnt transmission fluid. I don't even know what it smelled like, but it was funky. It did not smell good. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's hydraulic fluid or power steering fluid or what it is in the transmission, but I just want to fire this car up and I want to get it warmed up and I want to see if it has any gears at all with that in there. And if it does, we're definitely going to do a fluid and filter change on the transmission. And we might do it even if it don't have gears, because that could be the problem with it. You know, had the wrong stuff in there. I don't know. Definitely not helping the situation at all. But that's what I want to do. I don't want to have to put a kit in it. I want to see if I can get this thing to run good enough to check everything else out. And then, you know, once we get this thing functioning somewhat reasonably like it's supposed to, where it might go down the road, we'll do a fluid and filter change on the transmission, check the rear end grease, all that good stuff, and take a little short maiden voyage in it. So, I mean, I know y'all love hearing me talk. That's sarcasm, because you probably don't. But even if you do, too bad, because I'm gonna stop talking, because I'm gonna assume that you would rather hear this thing talk than me, because I would too. So that's what we're gonna do next. All right, let a rip, tater chip. A little bit of that in there. Oh yeah, safety first. So bad. Not actually trying to run, but I don't have the fuel line in the gas container yet. That could be part of the problem, but it should have had plenty in the float bowl for it to idle on. Let's see what happens. Safer. Man, it sounds good. Well, the engine sounds great. Should have pulled it up by now through the idle circuit. Let it die. I'm gonna get over here to the side, and I'm going to wrap on the throttle a little bit and close the choke at the same time, just to see if that pull any of that gunk through there. So I'm gonna have to fire it up, then I'm gonna have to lay this down, switch hands, put the bottle over here, and grab the throttle before it dies. Let's go ahead and put some in there. All right. Let's try to reset the idle air mixture screw. Screw it all the way down. There we go. We'll back it out, turn and a half. Try her again. See what happens. We'll have to come out a little bit more. Another half turn. See what that gets us. Like that. We're at 2 now. 2.5. Like that. That's 3. Go on to 4. No. 5. Well, if it don't run at 5 turns out, oh well. My container here is about out of gas. The actual fuel hose was not in the gas, so we're gonna refill that real quick. I'll try that again. Now, we might as well go ahead and doctor that up a little bit. Put some of this stuff in there. Oh yeah. It's in there. I like it. A little bit of ATF. Oh yeah. Get on in there now. There. Now she's liable to smoke, but that's all right. She got a right to. All right. Try it again. don't like that mixture very well, does it? Got a little noise coming from the fan area. I don't know if it's from the water pump or the air conditioner. Take a look at that. Yeah. Water pump's not wobbling or anything. Could just be those belts, those old belts. She is a smoking. That's all right. That's what these tests are for. Well, it ain't looking good for the home team. That's all I got to say. Definitely squirting. Let me go ahead and run the idle air mixture screw back down. Let's go 2.5 turns to start. Running my battery down. Well, you know, I say we let it soak with my mixture of Marvel Mystery Oil, transmission fluid, and gasoline inside the carburetor for a little while. We'll just let that marinate for a little bit and throw the battery charger on this battery. See if we can't spruce it back up too. All right, got the battery charger hooked up. While we're waiting, you know, I've got a little bit of this Marvel Mystery Oil left. Why don't we just dump that down in the oil? Just a little bit there. Maybe that'll go to work on that. Maybe loosen up some carbon deposits in there. You know, who knows? And we'll go ahead and add a little bit of antifreeze. I can see there's coolant in there, so it apparently is not leaking. So it's a little low. We'll go ahead and dump some in there. This is a concentrate. So whatever I put in here of this, I'm going to put an equal amount of water. So that's about, 10 seconds worth. Pouring. 10 seconds of pouring. Let's try this. This is just water. It's green because it was an old antifreeze jug that I filled with water, so there was just a little bit in there, but it ain't gonna matter. About 10 seconds, look at there. Equal amounts. Man, I couldn't have done that any better if I'd planned it. Alright. Don't think it would have overheated, but better safe than sorry. Alright. That hose there's a little warm, the upper hose is, so that's good. That means we are circulating. So the thermostat must have opened up, because if it hadn't, this hose would still be cold. Alright, I like it. We're going to continue to let this marinate in the carburetor for a little bit. Give it another try before we go with the carburetor kit. So what do y'all think about Torinos? I mean, are you a Ford guy? Are you a Chevy guy? Are you an Oldsmobile guy? Cadillac, Dodge, Mopar man, Or are you, one of these Japanese car fans, There's a lot of those out there too. I like Japanese cars. They're good cars. We use them for our daily drivers, but they ain't that cool. Now, some of them are. You get something like a Supra or a 350Z, I guess, or Honda Prelude. My wife's got one of those. They're all right. They're pretty cool cars, but they're not muscle cars. So that's the difference between muscle cars and just cool cars. I like muscle myself, but I'm old school. Don't want to leave Volkswagen guys out. Now, get all testy on me, because I've had some Volkswagens, Now, you guys fight amongst each other on what's better, air-cooled or liquid-cooled. I know that. I know it. But why can't we all just get along? That's all I'm saying. All right. Marination. Percolate. Now, did you know that they made a version of this car that was actually a Falcon? Same body, exactly, same equipment. 1970 and a half. Now, the first time I saw a 1970 and a half Falcon was in a write-up in one of the Mustangs and Fast Forward magazines back in the day. Back then, I know a lot of y'all are with me on this. We read magazines, car magazines. They had them. They were on the shelf. You walked through a whole aisle full of them at the Walmart. They were there. And this story about this 70 and a half Falcon said it was extremely rare one. It was red, I remember that. Had a 429 Super Cobra Jet in it. One of the fastest cars in 1970 and a half. It's called 70. I mean, now this car was old, because I was born in 70, and I'm old. But yes, it was a Falcon. Now, there's a guy that I watch on YouTube and Instagram. You might want to check him out. It's called Flat Broke Garage. The guy's name's Bill, and he's got some of these 70 and a half Falcons, and he calls them Falcarinos, which I think is a pretty catchy name. But yeah, there were 1970 and a half Ford Falcon, and then 1971 it was just straight Torino. So I thought that was pretty cool. One of the coolest cars ever is the Mad Max car. You remember that? That was a Falcon, Australian Ford Falcon XB GT. And man, I would love to have one of those. Really thought about buying one back in the 90s and just having it shipped from Australia. I should have done that, because you can't even get one now. They're so stupid in price now, you can't even get them. But that's one of my favorite cars, and my dream car is a Mad Max car. XB GT, built like Mad Max. I'd love to have one of those. There's a few of them around. You see them every now and then that people have built, and they're just really cool. Right-hand drive, got the little jump seat on the driver's side, on the left side door. Zoomy pipes, 351 Cleveland. Now the blower in that movie, it had a blower on it. It was not a real blower, it was for looks. If you notice, whenever he's chasing the guys down on the motorcycle gang, the guys that killed his wife and kid. I don't know, sad story, but it was a movie. But he reaches on the gear shifter and he pulls up a red switch that's like a splitter switch for a 2-speed axle on a semi. He pulled that up and it turned, you could see the camera on there, turned that blower on. It started whistling. That ain't how they work. It's belt driven off the crankshaft. But it was a cool effect for the movie. And back whenever I was a little kid, first watched that movie for the first time, it fooled me. But if I was to have one, it would have a real blower on it. And a lot of people say, well, that ain't authentic. That's not a real Mad Max car if it's got a real blower on it. I don't care. It's my car. Go get you one with a fake blower. That's how I feel about it. But anyway, I'm never going to have one anyway because they're like $1 million, I think. So anyway, and I don't have $1 million. Well, let's see if we can get this old Falcon fired up. Gotcha. To Torino. Let's see what happens. Go ahead and do that. We'll put this back on there. And then we will hook the battery charger back onto it and just leave it on there while we're running, while we're trying to use it. There we go. All right. I'm gonna try this again. The old oil fill cap back on there where it's supposed to be. Don't tighten up. Just stay there. Stay there. All right. Let's see what happens. Come on. Not wanting to start it all now. What's up? I don't think it's liking my mixture. Let's see. Let's set the choke and see if it'll fire with the choke. It didn't stay. Well, it's not staying. May have it flooded. Not going to start. She's flooded. She flooded. Well, we could pop the spark plugs out and blow the cylinders out. I think there's a lot of carburetor cleaner in that carburetor that I filled the float bowl up with earlier while it was off camera. I put the nozzle of my carburetor cleaner down in the breather vent and topped off the carburetor with carb cleaner. So maybe we'll just keep cranking it, see if we can pull some of that through there, get rid of it. She's flooded. Grader wide open now. They don't like to run on carburetor cleaner. Let's get in here. Pop these plugs out. The first thing I'll do is a little bit of this penetrate mixture on there. There you go. We'll get that last one in a minute. See if these will break loose. Oh yeah, no problem at all. Walk in the park, baby. Oh yeah, that's wet. I might go ahead and wire brush those while I got them out, just to give them a little bit better chance of firing. Oh yeah, we're gonna crack all these. Yeah, I need some new plug wires too for too long. But these will get us high for now. Gotta get me something. Got my little holder. This little thingamadodge here. I want. So, this is number 1. Number 6. Just so we can keep track of which one's doing what. Number 3. Now what we're going to do, once we get all these out, is we're going to crank this thing over to blow all that stuff out of the cylinders. And I'm going to hold the choke closed and the throttle wide open to help pull that carburetor cleaner out of there. Let's look at these. Shoo-wee. Those things are what I call blacker than a beaver's pancreas right there. I mean, that's blacker than Elvira's soul. They do not look like they're fine. Look at the carbon buildup on that one. I mean, it makes that electrode look twice as wide as it was. Supposed to look like that one. That cylinder might have been burning a little oil. And that one too. So that's 3. And that's 4. I'm gonna go clean these up. So yeah, 3 and 4 look pretty bad. The rest of them, I mean, they're black and wet, but they're not too bad. Let's go clean them up, see if we can make them work a little better. But first, we're gonna crank this over and see if we can blow those cylinders out. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, there's a lot coming out of there. Let's see if we can get a little more. Oh yeah, pulling some out. Carburetor cleaner. Let the starter rest a little bit. Trying to pull some of that good clean fuel up in there. Let's try that again. Oh yeah. Notice how it's mainly coming out looks like 4. And I guess that's what's right the closest to the carburetor right there. Is why that's blowing out of there like that. All right. It's definitely running down in there. We've pulled a little bit of fuel out of the container, the canister over here, the little mixing cup, the clean fuel. So what I'm gonna do now, let the starter rest, go clean those spark plugs. All right, now looky here. Now this is what we like to refer to out in Hoosier land as gooder than used. Big improvement. Those might fire, we'll see. We're gonna see what happens. Right on. First, we're gonna crank this over a few more times, make sure the cylinders are clear. There's quite a bit coming out. Kind of slowed down to a miss now. We'll do it one more time. I think that is sufficient. And let's go ahead and pop the spark plugs back in there. Back in the same order they came out, right? Just because, just in case we need it. You know, the 3 and 4 were pretty carboned up. So, could be an issue there. But, you know, we're gonna give her as good a chance as she can have. It ran good, the old engine ran good. So, And it had pretty much quit smoking before I put that concoction in there with the transmission fluid and the fuel and all that. So we'll just cross our fingers and hope for the best. Well, crying out loud. Finally started. Okay. Okay. That's tight. Okay, spark plugs are in. All right, now let's see what we got here. Put all these plug wires back on. All right, we got our fuel line submerged. Let's turn the key on. Okay. Try this again. Come on, baby. Nothing. Have no fire. Let's check it and see. Let's look our little doodad on here. See what it looks like. No fire. What did we do? What in the world did we do? Okay. We've got a coil wire on. Coil down there. Coil wire is loose or something. All right, try this again. Kind of lunged forward like it might have been in gear. That could be bad. No, it's in park. Okay. Let's see here. not going to idle. Well, folks, at this point, I think we've done all we can do to try to get this thing to idle, short of, you guessed it, rebuilding the carburetor. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to pull the carburetor off there and put this rebuild kit in it, boil it out real good, just make sure it's good and clean, and hopefully it'll take off running. All right, well, as you can see, we have the carburetor off, and we've got our can of the old carburetor cleaner here, and I'm glad it's sunny outside and warm, because I don't want to be inside doing this. I hate messing with this stuff. I mean, this stuff here, when you take the lid off of this can, I mean, if you're in any type of a place where there's not any air flowing, it immediately, the smell of this gets in your clothes, in your skin, in your hair, and I'm pretty sure in your lungs. So I like to be someplace where there's outside air using this stuff, if at all possible. And, you know, if I am inside, I usually put a fan to where it kind of blows the fumes away. This thing puts off a lot of fumes, but it's pretty nasty stuff. But it works good for cleaning carburetors. So, you know, win some, you lose some. All right, so I'm not sure exactly what all I need. Just looking over it, I would say 9/16 wrench and a flathead screwdriver. But I'm going to go ahead and start taking this apart. Get my little basket out here. Set this right over there. Start dropping stuff in it. Maybe I'm just sensitive to it. I don't know. It is awful. All right. That off of there. Let's just go ahead and dump some of this out. Get my little can here. Got that Marvel Mystery Oil and transmission fluid mixed together in the gas there. That probably, you know, did a little bit of good, I would say. Let's go ahead and engage the old time lapse while we're doing this. Music, please. Okay, based on what I can see of the parts available in this kit, I think this is about as far as I want to take this carburetor down. This is about all the parts I have, the ones that I have laid out here, as you can see. So I think we're going to be okay. I think this is the right kit for sure. It's got the important stuff in it. So we're going to go ahead and drop this carburetor body down in the bucket now. It's not going to fit all the way in there, but I can let it soak in there for a while and then turn it over. Let it soak a little while longer. And rinse it off, blow it out, and then put the small parts in. Here we go. Go on in there now, feller. All right, I don't want to hear no lip. I want you to get clean now. Everybody needs a bath every now and then. All right, put that back on there. All we do is wait. Welcome back, boys and girls. Well, we got it all cleaned up. Got all that stinky carburetor cleaner closed back up again, put away. So we're good to go. It turned out pretty good. Looks pretty clean. I went in through all these little small holes. I popped this plug here out so I could go in here and clean that one out. Use this. It's It's what you use to clean out a cutting torch tip. So I went through all the little holes I could find, blew it out real good with air and some carburetor cleaner, some aerosol. So I think we're in pretty good shape. Gonna put it back together. See, even got it marked. Look here, this port here says disrespectful. No, it's distributor. EGR. So that tells me this might be a late model carburetor. Probably is a late model carburetor. Been changed before. Works just fine for old cars too, apparently. We're gonna try to put this thing back together. I watched the video because this little thing right here, it's brass. The guy on YouTube called it a step-up rod, but it slid out. It actually was stuck up in here and it just fell out. Apparently the way that's held in, this is just crimped in. It's got what looks like little threads on it, but it's just like barbs. It's like a barb fitting, and it sticks up in there, and then you just squeeze that. This is the old one. I got a new one of these, but it's called a step-up rod, similar, like looks like a metering rod, probably same thing. I don't know. I'm not a carburetor professional. I just act like one sometimes. Anyway, let's put this thing back together. First thing I want to do, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my main jet here and put that in. You know, I might as well just do time lapse. All right, you know, nobody wants to hear me talk through this. We've seen this 100 times. Mr. Sulu, warp factor 8. Okay, now that the carburetor's back together, let's go ahead and scrape this base plate. Let's see if we can get this old gasket off of there. It's actually coming off pretty easy. piece of it went down in there. But we're just gonna pretend like that didn't happen. A lot of it comes right off. Not all of it. Little piece right there. Okay. Looks good. Well, as you can see, there's not a whole lot to the Carter RBS 1-barrel carburetor. It's pretty simple, but if somebody can mess it up, you're looking at him. So I have a pretty good feeling about this, that it's going to run pretty good now, but you know, I've been wrong before, and you know, today just might be another one of those days. But we're going to slap it on there and fire this bad boy up, see what happens. We got rid of that little steel filter, that little small fuel filter that was on there, and that elbow that was on here. And we're going to put one of these transparent filters on it so we can watch, see what's going on when we hook it to the fuel tank. Can't get another bite on that with this wrench. That box end ain't gonna fit either. You get a regular box end wrench. That's more like it. Okay, now make some room for this fuel filter. We'll cut a piece off of that hose over there. Okay, let's hook up the old starter button. Already hooked up the battery. There's that. Now let's go around and turn the key on. It is on already. So now get down here a little closer. You can see what's going on. Let's see if we can see that gas pull up into the filter there. Look at that. Immediately filled up. Wow. Let's see what happens. Didn't even touch it. Still died. Okay. Let's see. We're out 2 turns on the idle air mixture screw. Let's come out 1. We're idling. We're out 4 turns on the idle air mixture screw. Four and a half. Sounds really good there. Well, how cool is that now? So we're gonna let this thing run for a little while and keep an eye on the coolant, see what it does. Make sure that it's circulating and percolating, you know. And we got a little bit of smoke back there. What that is, that's burning off from everything that I squirted on, and also some leaks that the valve cover leaks. So there's an oil on the exhaust manifold there, but also saturated from a lot of the stuff that I was dumping in this thing too. So that's burning off. But all in all, I mean, after 25 or 26 years, I think she sounds pretty good. We'll let her warm up a little bit, and we might check out the transmission. I'm not too cautiously optimistic about that. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm not real optimistic, but I don't know. I don't like to look at that fluid. We're going to see. Check out the brake pedal, see what we got going on there. I'm sure the master cylinder's frozen up. Probably the rear wheel cylinders and the front ones too. I'm sure. I don't think this has disc in the front. I'm pretty sure it's sprung, but you know, we'll look at all that. That'll be some of the stuff we do going forward. I don't think you can ask for more than that. Runs pretty good. I mean, plug wires that are hard as a rock, they're really just kind of laying on spark plugs. Those spark plugs are old and just fouled. I mean, we just wire brushed those on a wire wheel. So, happy. Take a look at the coolant. Just sitting there like a bump on a log right now, doing a whole lot. Thermostat definitely is not open yet. It's not circulating. Come here, take a look. dirty. It's funky looking for sure. I forgot to take my little locking pin off. That's all right. It's doing a pass through. It's monitoring it right now. I think we have a successful rebuild on the carburetor for sure. Fuel pump came around. Check back on the coolant a little later.
A few moments later.
Alright. Looks like the radiator, the thermostat is open. So the water is circulating in there now, so it's pumping through the engine. We're going to top this off. See that on the ground there? Maybe that one core right there. I don't know. It's leaking from the top of the radiator somewhere. Let's go ahead and get in here before we lose all our coolant. And put this radiator cap back on first. Let's just see if it'll go in gear. Like I said, I'm sure the yeah, that brake pedal's frozen. Master cylinder's frozen. So I'm not gonna leave it in gear too long. That's reverse. Drive. Nothing. Low, nothing. We got nothing. So it looks like you might have a transmission problem. Power steering works, look at that. Definitely needs some love. I'd like to say I'm surprised about the transmission, but after seeing that fluid, I'm not surprised. We're in reverse now. Doing nothing. Shut her down and fire back up, see what happens. Immediately. Temperature gauge still shows cold, but you know that sensor could not be working. I don't know. Or it could be accurate. I mean, these little engines run really cool, so they sip gas too. They're no, you know, pretty good little engine. That buzzer is like a torture device. And you just can't beat that. Alright, so we're going to call this video a success for now. Alright, so we're going to call this video a success for now. And we're going to cut it off here. The next video on this car, we're going to be looking at the transmission and the brakes. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to take a road test in it today, but that's the way it goes. We'll get there. Till then, y'all keep rocking.